All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Legend of the Galactic Heroes, episode 66. Reinhard, what are you going to decide to do with the whole
Alliance situation?
Alliance Rebellion situation.
Because Rebello is, he's almost done.
Yep, he's on the way out.
He is a frayed shoestring to the quick. Like,
yep,
there's not much left of the base corded bit of him left.
But also, this meeting that Reinhardt's going to have with Oberstein and Ruhenthal and Mittermeier, in order to figure out what's going to happen and what their thoughts are on the matter, we'll get to see if there's some more conflict between Oberstein and Ruhenthal, because they're definitely on very friendly terms right now.
Right, very, very
cordial.
Very cordial. Yes.
Yeah.
Within the side of things on the alliance bit here, though, they're starting to have some rumors spread regarding the way things are being handled by the alliance government.
Right, and then also there's the whole thing of Yang's subordinates being like, "Hey, so now that we have you back, you're gonna start going full gung-ho, right?" And he's like, "Well, maybe not." And you're like, "Okay,
not necessarily.
I suppose that's all right for now."
Yeah, and Wallen has been sent over to Alliance space and will be given a lot of info with regards to how to handle this. But because he doesn't know where things are and stuff, he needs to be careful that he doesn't end up surrendering or giving up Empire, assets to Yang and his people and stuff. So
it's going to be fun.
His wariness of Yang being this tactical, miracle worker and all that, and strategic genius is this thing that's actually helping.
Yeah,
Where he's like, things could go really badly. Let's make sure we don't
overextend.
Exactly. But Julian and Poplin,
on Odin.
They're on Odin, which is hilarious because Reinhardt just shifted the capital over to Fejon. So,
passing like ships.
All right.
In a sea of stars.
Yeah, exactly. It's a constant circle,
Goes on and on.
Yeah.
But what we get into this episode?
I think it's going to be that meeting with Reinhardt.
I'm excited to see how that goes.
Yeah. So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. All right, Reinhardt is showing more signs of
destabilization.
Yeah, centralized power being weakened. And a couple of the people that are on the military side of things are starting to notice this in areas where he kind of falls back on acts of military power in order to kind of stabilize his own, really, I would say, goals as a Kaiser.
Yeah, that desire for certainty where there is none. Because on the battlefield, it's a lot more straightforward, right? It's okay, you defeat the enemy.
Yeah.
But once there isn't a battlefield, then all of a sudden it's like, well, what do you do, right?
Right. And thus, I would say the best part about this is that Reinhardt will end up delegating a bit more.
Sure.
What that also does mean, though, is that the idea of him being Emperor of the Universe is something he might not entirely believe in. Because he is seeing his own limitations come up, and a couple of the other characters are starting to realize, wait, with this kind of stuff regarding, infrastructure, leadership delegation, he's starting to realize that the idea of one being holding supreme executive power might not be sustainable. Yeah.
Right. Now, that sounds like a good thing, because it's acknowledging his own weaknesses and things like that, and if he's going to burn out anyways, then be aware of that, plan around that, awesome. And then maybe he could end up, going and seeing his sister and just having a peaceful life, right?
But that's not what's going to happen.
But it's not what's going to happen, so
exactly.
And maybe it's because of, that impassioned speech from Bittenfeld being like, no, we must charge onward and,
Well, shape history rather than let history shape you.
Right.
That's a very dangerous perspective on this, because history doesn't care about you.
Nope. And
history is something regarding the past. It has to be from the perspective of looking backwards. So you might say you're shaping history and that you will lock certain milestones into place, but you don't decide who tells your story.
Right. Mother Nature always wins. It's just how it works, you know. And Reinhardt is definitely having a big impact, has had a big impact, and will continue to until he dies. But that you know, memento mori. Everyone dies, and you would have died in that battle with Yang if not for some convenient help from your underlings.
Yeah. And if he's going to think about this in terms of what he's, you know, leaving behind or needs to delegate and stuff, he still hasn't handled the heir of succession, like that problem. He hasn't gotten into the situation where he's willing to maybe rely a little bit more on Mariendorf. He is potentially being a bit lax in seeing the divisions that are being that are
brought
about between his three biggest admirals in this whole thing.
Don't want to have some sort of Alexander the Great triumvirate, you know, they all start tearing it apart to get their own piece of power.
Yeah, because right now Ruental is hungry because he is seeing that you might not be his shining star anymore. You're letting passivity and instability kind of be the marks of who you are right now. Yeah.
And what I love about this is that it's something where it's an avenue where Ruental can rebel against Reinhard while at the same time not supplanting his sort of loyalty in Reinhard, because
passivity and stability, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because while it would be something where he would be eventually going in direct conflict with his you know, until now leader, it's because he holds strongly to the ideals that he saw in Reinhard back then, and it's the, I believe you are not properly following them, you're not holding to them, so I think I can do a better job, right? And awesome. I'm very excited to see how that character conflict would end up playing out, because it's so much more interesting than just simply, oh, Ruental's ambitious and he wants to be the one steering the ship.
Right. He will not fight back against his Imperial Majesty in this regard, because now Reinhard is deciding to enact, in some ways, the things at which he saw in Reinhard before.
Right.
So this is something that will keep Ruental sated for quite a while.
Yeah, the hungry dog is getting fed.
Yeah, however, a lot of the more pragmatic, I would say, not necessarily smarter people, but the people who are thinking about this decades like ahead of time here, the Mariendorfs and the Obersteins, basically.
The ones handling the more boring thinking.
Sure.
The not exciting, like, yes, conquer and all of that, but just the, okay.
We want an empire that will last, 1,000 years or something.
Right.
Oberstein realizes that you're not thinking that way, Reinhard. This is something where you are so distraught. You are so out of sorts.
You need a dog.
You need a comfort animal, like on the side there, just to keep your mental health in check.
Right.
Because when you fidget like that, holding on to that
that thing,
memento,
right?
Yeah. It gives a much stronger message than any of the words that you said in that meeting did.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
And everyone noticed that.
Yeah.
Even Mittermeier.
Even if not all of them necessarily know what it means, because I feel like I think they
don't all necessarily have to know what it means, though.
Right. Yes. It's still communicating what it's communicating, even if they aren't able to translate it.
Yep.
Just yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's universal signs that are being being communicated here.
There's a reason only like 7% of communication is actually the words that you say.
Exactly.
So yeah. But with the next stage of things, I'm excited to see what happens. I'm not too sure what to expect though, because while
Bittenfeld's blunder, this is the
it feels like it could be another one of those.
Pull out the Black Queen like immediately, and it's like, oh no, you This really does feel like that kind of a chess game here, where they're in that awkward stage of the beginning where the openings have been played, but White's playing a very strange opening, like a very, very obtuse opening.
Yeah.
And they're setting up to Fianchetto, but they're not even Fianchettoing. They're doing like all kinds of weird stuff. And they're like, okay, let's just, what the hell? well, let's be weird as well. Send the queen out immediately. Bittenfeld's like, hell yeah, let's go. And we'll see how they respond.
Yeah, because the way Reinhardt lost against Yang before was because Yang just didn't lose, right? It was the kind of thing where
they both made fantastic moves.
They both made fantastic moves, but the thing is that Yang didn't make the mistakes, right? Reinhardt's people eventually did, right? And they were things, a lot of them were things that he couldn't have necessarily predicted, but it just started to happen, right? And because Yang didn't have those issues, he won, right? Now, he didn't win in the, grand scheme of things, but he would have won. He had won that fight, and that... Because Reinhardt is not at his best right now, it feels like that is something that could easily happen again. Because while he is very competent, he is not infallible, and he doesn't have a cool head right now.
Right. Thankfully, though, Yang is only playing with like 5 pieces, so it doesn't matter.
He's like, okay,
really.
I've got this one knight, and I need to do a lot with this knight.
I have a knight, a rook, and 3 pawns. That's it. Oh, and then my king, of course. But okay, he's just bringing out the queen immediately. I think we're just going to not play.
Yeah.
I'm just going to hope that more
See
pieces
if he
appear
moves
on the
it
board.
into some dumb positions or something. Who knows, right? And so
chase it around potentially.
And because of that, I feel like I don't have too much to say about this episode in particular, but it's more of just
based on how Yang will respond. And the alliance in
right.
general.
It's a lot of things that were kind of covered in previous episodes, but then it's also a lot based on how Yang will respond, right? And then also how the people that Reinhardt said, how Yang will respond, how the populace of the alliance will respond, right? Because that's the other big factor. Like that's the big reason why they haven't just gone in to conquer the alliance yet. The whole line of saying like, hey, as long as we want to have the alliance government of its own will keep its people at bay, or however it was phrased, it's like that's good stuff, right? That is the big objective here, because no matter what size of military they have, it's not going to be enough. You can't fully have a people conquered forever unless you get it to the point, get them to the point where they want to submit, whether through fear or through love, right?
Yeah. And in this case, Rebello does not get what he wants here. The Imperial military has been mobilized. The Black Lancers are on their way. And he will have to cry to Yang for help. Unless he wants to basically have the alliance just be like, guys, we just need to surrender. At the very least, if there is anyone that, will make this better, it's just that we won't lose any more lives here.
But once you do war, that don't go well for the common people. Lots of people die.
What war?
Well, if
that would be surrender. That's not a war.
Wait.
I was saying surrender.
Oh,
Rebello has 2 choices here. Just immediately throw everything away and be like, we cannot fight you, and I do not want anyone else to die, so we surrender. We deal with Yang, please. We will offer no resistance. If anything, we'll help you.
Right.
Or, Yang, please, oh God, Yang, help us.
Right, yeah.
If he wants to make a more nuanced version of both of those, he can try, but I think that Rebello is not capable of that right now.
So, one of the things that I was almost kind of wondering if this would end up being brought up is that when Oberstein made the whole mention of, hey, if Yang comes over here, then that's totally an option, but he has to just cut all ties with the alliance, and that's not going to happen, therefore we'll never get Yang.
Yeah.
There was a part of me that was like, well, hold on. What would happen if you didn't have that kind of limitation on it?
Whoa.
And of like, you must cut all ties with the alliance, and you instead said, hey, Yang, come over, work with us. Oh, you still have ties with the alliance? Okay, now, maybe there would be all sorts of complications and reasons why that wouldn't work, but theoretically, if it was a truly mutually beneficial kind of relationship, like Yang wasn't being held at arm's reach, at arm's length, could there actually become a point where either it causes the alliance people to lose trust in Yang because they feel like he's abandoned them, or in order to make that not happen, if they truly treat Yang well, then the people in the alliance might then realize that, oh, maybe the Empire isn't so bad, we have a voice in the Empire, etc. We have Yang in there, it's all okay. And then if they were to end up getting annexed, it wouldn't feel like they were getting conquered because they have people in the Empire, right?
Yeah.
Like, whether Yang is actually the one managing the old Alliance territories or not, like, maybe that would make it go over better. Now, I don't know. I'm no politician or strategist, you know, or anything like that. But I was kind of curious to see what would have happened if Oberstein had not been so strict with how he put forth, like, with his response to that notion.
Yeah, Oberstein is being entirely logical, though. There is almost no reason as to why Yang would join him if he already rejected him back when this whole thing ended.
Yeah, that's true.
Reinhardt and Oberstein don't fully understand Yang, but they also do understand, based on the fact that he had this moment before, that Oberstein is trying to kill this weird obsession that Reinhardt has with Yang.
Right, because it's the whole thing of
wanting
another Kirheis, yeah.
Which is not, that is not sustainable.
Yang could be that, but he's not going to be.
He cannot be that.
Well, yeah.
Like, he actually cannot.
Yeah,
no
Kirheis
one
is
can
gone.
replace Kirheis.
Right,
He's gone.
and you still haven't grieved, Reinhardt. You haven't really.
Well, it's worse than that. You are actively ignoring reality.
Right.
And you are believing that you can hold on to him.
Yeah, you're staying in the stage of denial.
Yeah. He's not even, it's not even a thing of where he's in the neutral state where he needs to go into the process of going through this so he can move on. He's actively against moving on, which makes, I would say, Oberstein extremely frustrated because he's trying to then go, dude, if you go with this, that's cool, but then we need to think about what happens when this consumes you and you're gone.
It eliminates certain options for us.
So Oberstein, I feel like, is not playing dirty here. He's basically just saying, Your Majesty, I need you to accept reality. So I'm going to throw at you the most likely eventual outcome after we exhaust all those other options that have chances of working, because this is what it's going to boil down to. Does Yang have the capacity to throw away all the things that he fought for in order to come over and serve you, which is essentially what you want, right?
Theoretically, he could, but he's not going to.
But let's face facts here. He's not going to.
Yeah.
There are ways you could make it easier for him.
Yeah, for sure.
You could probably give him a really cushy life. You could bring his family over.
Right,
you could bring some of his allies over.
Yeah, the whole question of the what position to give him and things like that. It's like, yeah, you could get into that.
Right. But Oberstein's thing that he also has as a very high priority is thinking about the stability of the Empire moving forward. And if Reinhardt does all this, this brings a lot of things into question with regards to his subordinates. And if he puts Yang suddenly above a whole bunch of other people,
honoring his enemies and the dead more than the people that serve him, that doesn't exactly reinforce good behavior.
Yeah. And he's like Reinhardt, I know you want to have help here with delegation and stuff, but there are ways you can do this that are much easier and much more logical. So why don't we do that? Why don't we go in?
Our boy needs a break.
Yeah, Reinhardt needs a break.
He needs to
so
just.
This is what he's going to choose. Is well, let's have some conflict. I know this gives me a rush, so this is my break, you know. And yeah, it's a weird. It's a weird situation we're in.
When was the last time we saw his sister? That one time when Mariendorf went and talked to her.
We need those two to reunite.
Yeah. It really needs to happen. It's like it's even above me wanting Schoenkoff and Bittenfeld to meet. Like it's way up there.
Way up there.
Yeah.
With Mariendorf kind of writing out a list of all the powers in play right now.
Yeah.
I love that there were a couple that were extremely small, but they were still noted. She mentioned
old
wealthy people in Fejon.
Right, yeah.
And she mentioned also the remnants of the Church of Terra.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to
still haven't seen Rubinsky in a long time.
Yeah, we haven't seen Rubinsky in a long time. But one of the ones that she also mentioned was remnants of the former empires of the Golden Dynasty, but also El Facil, which has declared independence.
Right, a bunch of very small factions that
very, very small
that theoretically could
become
together.
Something more in the future.
Yeah,
but if the main problem is actually that we have the free government of the government of the
Free Planets
Alliance and Yang's current forces, if they ally, because Yang is currently a rallying point not just for the powers that be, then also a rallying point for the present conflict, which could then motivate Reinhard, maybe it is more effective for him to have something that is a simple problem to solve. To put all the nails in one place to where it looks like you can hit them all at once with a single hammer swing. And that's not necessarily the safest and most...
yeah, it's not the safest or the easiest, but it's the simplest.
It's the simplest,
and that's the potential issue, right? In order to make things simple, you give them a potential shot. You must be ruthless, Lord Vader. If even a single rebel survives, then this alliance we have unwittingly created will be our undoing, right?
Yep. Nice quote there.
And so it's a dangerous game you're playing, Reinhard. And you took risks when you faced Yang before, and that's why you lost, right? Because you took risks that maybe you didn't need to take, or you didn't need to take them in that way, right? They didn't pan out for whatever reason because you don't know everything.
Well, it was also a fault of how he used the delegation of his power.
Yeah.
If he goes at this with the, I am going to rely on my power and I will only delegate where necessary here, there's ways that can be better. But I like that in this respect, he basically said, let's let the annals of history maybe tell a little bit of a darker tale here because we ignored certain minor legalities and such. But we're going to shape history. So Bittenfeld, go in, shake things up a bit, be the vanguard of something potentially even greater. But for now, I'm willing to use you as not necessarily a queen, but a pawn here. Go in, and let's see.
Put the pressure on.
Right. Let's see if things coalesce into a more simplified problem.
Sure.
And if they do, which I think is something that would make sense, then I can come in and bring the hammer of Odin.
Well, yeah, the divine arms and all that. Yeah.
So that's where we're at. Y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if ain't that interests you, we'll see it there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.